everyone. Okay, let's continue where we left off. Earlier, we discussed that unemployment never falls to zero. The unemployment rate in the US fluctuates, or any country fluctuates over the time due to economic conditions. And we learned that because of those conditions, we have three categories and types of unemployment: natural, cyclical, and seasonal. We talked about natural rate of unemployment. The data that you see on the Fred website is usually seasonally adjusted. You will see this on the Fred website that is written around the graph or table that the data is seasonally adjusted. It means that the data is only including the cyclical and natural unemployment. Now, if you have natural rate of unemployment and the total unemployment rate in the same graph, just like this one. Cyclical unemployment is the gap between the two lines. In recessions, the actual unemployment rate is higher than the natural rate, and cyclical unemployment is positive. In booms, unemployment is below the natural rate and cyclical unemployment is negative. For example, in 1960, you see that the unemployment rate is much below the natural rate. The 1960s, particularly in the United States, saw a period of rapid economic expansion. That is why we see a drop in the unemployment rate driven by technological advancements, increasing consumer demand and government spending, especially during the Kennedy and Johnson administration's policies to stimulate growth. This led to higher employment levels, and unemployment rates fell below what we economists consider as the natural rate at the time. In the late 1960s, US government spending increased significantly due to the Vietnam War and social programs like the Great Society. And this government expenditure helped fuel demand in the economy, pushing the unemployment lower than the natural rate. During this time, there was also increased government intervention such as wage and price controls, which could temporarily push the unemployment rate below the natural rate. The Federal Reserve also kept the interest rates relatively low during that time. We will talk more about this type of intervention by the Fed, stimulating the investment and consumption. We will talk more. This is called as the monetary policy that we will talk in a week after the break. So this expansionary monetary policy helped push down the unemployment rate even further. That is why you see this huge gap in here between the cyclical unemployment and the natural unemployment rate. The natural rate of unemployment represents the long-term rate of unemployment when the economy is in equilibrium, including structural and frictional unemployment, but not cyclical. When the actual unemployment rate falls below the natural rate, this suggests that the economy is operating above its sustainable capacity, often leading to inflationary pressures. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, the inflation began to rise, setting the stage for the stagflation of the 1970s, where both the high inflation and unemployment occurred. That's why we call it as stagflation. Both stagnation and inflation are happening, and we call it as stagflation. So in this period, the strong economic expansion and government interventions led the actual unemployment rate to fall below the natural rate. However, this was unsustainable, and in the long run, it contributed to the economic challenges that followed. So, in summary, cyclical unemployment is the variation in unemployment due to business cycle. During recessions, job losses increase, leading to higher unemployment, and during economic booms, unemployment decreases as businesses hire more workers. The natural rate of unemployment remains relatively stable over the time. As you see here in the graph, it's relatively between 4 to 6%. And that represents the long-term average rate that includes structural and frictional market frictional unemployment, I'm sorry. In an ideal market, wages adjust so that the labor supply meets labor demand, eliminating the unemployment. However, in reality, unemployment persists due to factors such as search time, skill mismatches, and policies that prevent wages from adjusting freely. The natural rate of unemployment includes frictional and structural. Frictional and structural unemployment and is inevitable. So the natural rate of unemployment is frictional unemployment plus structural unemployment. Even in a well-functioning economy, unemployment exists. The natural rate of unemployment accounts for job transitions and structural factors. So we are looking at each of these one by one. All right. While cyclical unemployment results from short-term economic fluctuations. So natural rate of unemployment is a long-term concept, and cyclical unemployment results from short-term economic fluctuations. Understanding the different types of unemployment helps the policymakers address labor market challenges. Even when the economy is doing well, there's always some unemployment, and we call that natural unemployment. There are four explanations for unemployment. The first emphasizes that workers and jobs are diverse, so it takes time for workers to find the jobs that best suit them, and for firms to find the workers that best fill their needs. This is the source of frictional unemployment. For example, I have studied economics. I got my PhD in economics, and with that, I can either do research at the R&D sector of a firm, or I can do research at the government sections, or I can just, as you see, I am currently at the academia. So depending on my needs, depending on the income that I'm looking for, depending on the work environment, it might take some time for me to find a job that suits me. And that time period that I will be unemployed is known as the frictional unemployment. The next three explanations for the natural rate of unemployment have a common theme: structural unemployment. It arises when in some labor markets the number of jobs available is less than the number of people looking for work. When wages are stuck above the equilibrium level and the quantity of labor supplied exceeds the quantity demanded, we will see that this happening when we have minimum wage laws, when we have unions and collective bargainings, and when we have efficiency wages. We will talk about each of these one by one, but before moving on, let me just clarify something in here that I am referring to the structural unemployment definition based on the Mankiw's book. Mankiw defines structural unemployment primarily as unemployment that results when wages are set above the equilibrium level, leading to a surplus of labor. For example, due to minimum wage laws, unions, or efficiency wages. In contrast, other textbooks often define structural unemployment as arising from skill or geographic mismatches, where workers' abilities or locations do not align with available job opportunities. Mankiw acknowledges the mismatch issue, but treats it separately. Okay, so we look at, I'm going to use this definition of the mismatch of skills as frictional unemployment, and the structural unemployment, I'm going to define it based on the Mankiw's book. Okay. All right. So Let's look at the factors, the reasons, or the sources of frictional unemployment. We're going to look at each of these, this frictional unemployment and the structural unemployment, one by one. Let's start with frictional unemployment. So, frictional unemployment arises when workers transition between jobs. It happens because people take time to find jobs that match their skills and preferences. Additionally, sectoral shifts, do not confuse this sectoral shifts with structural unemployment. Sectoral shifts are the changes in demand across industries. It can create temporary mismatches in the labor market. For example, if demand for IT jobs rises while manufacturing declines, displaced workers need time to retain or relocate. If I want to give you a real life example, for example, US economy between 2010 and 2020 experienced some changes across different industries. Employment fell by 235,000 in newspaper and book publishing, 238,000 in hotel industry, and 534,000 in state and local government. Employment rose by 650,000 in manufacturing, 1.8 million in construction, and 3 million in healthcare. Normally, this is very normal in a well-functioning dynamic economy. Workers tend to move toward industries in which they are most valuable. If I am not valued in my position right now, I will decide to move somewhere that people value me. If I am valued here, I will be retained here. I will stay working as a instructor. So the long run result for the overall economy is higher productivity and living standards. Workers in declining industries find themselves out of work and searching for new jobs. The result is frictional unemployment. Okay, so and that comes from this the sectoral shifts when the composition of the demand or the needs of the industries are changing. Government can help reduce frictional unemployment by providing job matching services and training programs. Public employment agencies help workers find suitable jobs, while training programs equip workers with the necessary skills for new industries. However, we have advocates and critics, and some argue that the private market is more efficient at job matching than government interventions. And there are always, there are usually advocates about and the critics about the public policies. The second source of frictional unemployment is the unemployment insurance. It is a partial protection against job loss. Not everybody gets unemployment insurance. Unemployed, it's like, for example, the unemployed that quit their job, got fired for causes, or just entered the labor force, these people are not eligible. Typically, the unemployment insurance is 50% of former wages for 26 weeks. This insurance is often increased in national downturns, and that was especially true during the coronavirus pandemic in 2020-2021. Unemployment insurance provides temporary financial assistance to workers who lose their job. While the unemployment insurance helps workers sustain themselves while searching for a better job match, it may also increase frictional unemployment by reducing the urgency to accept new employment. Nevertheless, it can lead to better job worker matching, which ultimately benefits the economy. The unemployed person has a certain amount of income, so they will have more time to search for a right position that matches their skills while they are receiving this certain amount of money through the unemployment insurance. So you see, unemployment insurance can increase the frictional unemployment while people are searching for new jobs. Third source of frictional unemployment is the labor characteristics. Unemployment rates vary by age, education, demographic factors. Younger workers typically have higher unemployment rates due to job searching and skill development. Higher education levels correlate with lower unemployment rates as educated workers have more transferable skills. Specific groups such as women, immigrants, racial and ethnic minorities, gender and sexual diverse labor force, all of these may face different barriers to employment, cultural, political, and many different factors. My area of expertise is actually in the labor economics and diversity at workplace. This is the area that I do research on and I work and I study a lot. This is my expertise, my area of expertise, and my study, among many others, show that this discrimination affects these individuals entering and staying in the labor market. There are some public policies protecting them, but not as strong as needed. Another thing is the geographic mobility, which also plays a role. If workers cannot relocate for job opportunities, unemployment remains high in certain regions. Okay, so this is the quiz of the day. I would expect you to pause, answer this question, and then continue. Okay, I assume that you paused, you answered, and now let's see the correct answer. The correct answer is option C, where only 2 and 3 are the answers. All else equal, which of the following would increase the unemployment rate? Only if a preference among older men to retire early. This usually happens through the unemployment insurance or disability insurance. Additionally, an increase in the maximum number of the weeks for which someone can receive government unemployment benefits. So both of these could actually increase the unemployment rate. All right, now let's look at the structural unemployment. Structural unemployment occurs when there are not enough jobs available for all workers who want to work at the current wage rate. So we earlier discussed about this graph over here. I draw this on the board earlier. So if the wage is at this level, if the wage, for example, it might be set by the government, it might be set by the firms or whatever, for any reason, if this wage is above this equilibrium wage, we will have more people looking for a job and few positions available. We earlier discussed what the supply side and what the demand side and the labor market is. Just once again, supply side actually the employees or workers, and demand side is employers or companies and firms. Okay, so the 3 reasons for this structural unemployment are minimum wage laws, unions and collective bargaining, and efficiency wages. We're going to discuss each of these 3 reasons in the following slides. Let's start with minimum wages. Minimum wages can contribute to structural unemployment by setting wages above the market equilibrium, making it too expensive for some employers to hire low-skilled workers. However, minimum wages also ensure a living wage for employees. The debate continues over whether minimum wage laws help or hurt employment level. So some people say that this is creating some unemployment, but at the same time, higher wage is increasing the welfare of the workers. So it's still under discussion and negotiation. Another factor that is causing the structural unemployment is the unions negotiation. Unions and collective bargaining. Unions negotiate higher wages and better benefits for workers, sometimes raising wages above equilibrium levels. This process is called as this process of generating an agreement is called as collective bargaining. Okay, and when the wage is above this equilibrium level, this can lead to, I'm sorry about the noise, this can lead to unemployment because firms hire fewer workers at higher wages. Firms cannot afford to pay the wages of more employees anymore. Some economists argue that unions act like monopolies, distorting the labor markets, while others believe that they balance employer power and improve working conditions. Again, we have some critics and advocates, and still they are doing research and discussing and seeing which effect is actually stronger. And the third reason or source of structural unemployment is the efficiency wages. Efficiency wages is a theory. The theory of efficiency wages suggests that firms voluntarily pay above the market wages to increase worker productivity. Higher wages improve the worker health, reduce turnover, attract better talent, and motivate employees to work harder. So, this can also contribute to unemployment by reducing the number of positions available. When the payments are above the minimum wage, that might result in reducing the number of positions available, because the firms will not be able to afford as many employees' wages as before. And finally, let's talk about the seasonal unemployment. So earlier we talked that unemployment rate includes frictional, cyclical, and seasonal unemployment. We talked about a natural unemployment rate, which was frictional and structural. Then we talked about the cyclical unemployment, which happened during the short-term business cycles, due to business cycles. And finally, let's talk about the seasonal unemployment. Seasonal unemployment occurs when jobs are only available during certain times of the year. Examples include ski resorts closing in summer, agricultural workers being employed only during harvest season, and retail jobs increasing during the holiday season. Economists use seasonal adjustment techniques, as I said earlier, to remove these fluctuations when analyzing the employment data. That is why when I was showing you this graph here, let me go back. Let me show this one. The reason that while I was discussing this, I said that the gap between these two graphs is the cyclical unemployment. I said that this is already adjusted for the seasonal unemployment, and that happens in most of the cases, and the economists use the seasonal adjustment techniques to remove these fluctuations when analyzing the employment data. Okay, let's go back. Here we are. All right. Okay, so I'm leaving this practice question for you. Think about it. If you send me your answers through email, you will get some extra credit, and we will discuss about the solutions next session. Okay, see you after the break. Enjoy the break. Don't forget that we have homework for this topic. It will be available by the end of the day tonight, by the end of the day, and see you.